Hi there. My name is Scott, and I live in Toronto, here in Canada. And I've had chronic idiopathic urticaria or chronic hives for over 20 years. And I've put together this series of videos. This is the last in the series. This is 4 of 4. Just trying to communicate everything that I've learned over the years. I've had the benefit of a lot of trial and error. I've seen a lot of doctors. I've just experimented with a ton of stuff and done a ton of research. And so this is everything I know that gets me to a state where I'm kind of cured of the hives, puts me into a state of remission. And it's something that I've actually been able to repeat. So it's information that I hope will be of value to somebody who's struggling with this brutal condition. I'm going to share my screen here because I do have a couple slides to take you through. This, as a recap, this is me. As you can see, over the years with the hives, these are taken at different points, but I've had them quite bad. So if you've got this condition, I feel you. I've been there. I tried every medication that's out there, from antihistamines to steroids to Xolair, and nothing really worked for me. So I had to really be my own advocate and do my own research and visit professional after professional and just find what worked for me. And I did find some things that that really do work, at least for me. So so I'm here to share those. I laid out in my first video a bit of a framework for understanding the hives, and this really helped me put things into a bit of a system that I could use to attack the problem. I found there were essentially 2 variables. One was the histamine level in my bloodstream, and then how reactive I was to it. And as you take in histamines from your diet and so forth, everything is generally fine until you reach a point where the amount of histamines in your bloodstream exceed your baseline level of reactivity, and that's where the hives kick in. This is how I kind of rationalize and understand the condition. So it's sort of like, as you go about this, and the earlier videos of mine talk to tackling this from both sides, trying to reduce the amount of histamine in your bloodstream and trying to improve on your level of reactivity, so your baseline reactivity level is just higher. And the gap in between on this graph between the histamines and how reactive you are, that's that state of remission. So that's sort of my target. That's where I want to spend all my time, and that's where I am now. So the strategies that I'm covering in these videos are all about reducing histamines and improving the basis of reactivity. This video I'm doing today is a continuation, actually, of the last one, where I was talking about different things that I do to improve my reactivity. This is where I left off. These are the items that I covered. What I want to go into more detail today is all around the mind and stress, because this has been really interesting for me and has really made a significant difference. Now, when you've got a condition like hives, like this, chronic hives, you end up spending a ton of research, right? So you're just on the internet all the time, and you trip across stuff. And I came across something that really piqued my interest, where I was reading about this guy that was able to raise hives on his skin through meditation. And that just hit me like a lightning bolt, because I thought, that's really interesting, because these hives, they're idiopathic, meaning, there's no cause, there's no external factor that's causing them to happen. It's something my mind or my body is doing to itself, in a way. So I saw that and I thought, well, if meditation can raise hives, couldn't meditation turn off hives? If this is something my body is just doing to itself, why couldn't I turn it off? So that just led me down a huge rabbit hole of research. And some of this stuff gets pretty out there. But there's a lot of legitimate science around, the connection between the mind and the skin and the role that the mind plays in healing. And, I always thought of the mind and body as these two separate things. But the more you read, it's really just one system, and they're so highly integrated. It's well worth the research. So I went down that road and came up with some really interesting stuff that I found, and I've been able to apply it to I think really tremendous effect. The first thing that I want to point out is just this idea that it's the stress in your life can play a big role in this, and I never realized the degree to what, and I think for me it's probably part of the cause. I was somebody that I would say just lived their days in their sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight kind of state, only because I liked the action. I liked living that way. I'm not somebody who jumps off cliffs or anything in a squirrel suit, but I do like to live at a brisk pace, and I enjoy my job because it's very busy, and then there's a lot of hours in the week. But then I would also do the same with my weekends, and I would load up my weekends with stuff to do and goals and things I was working to accomplish. And you'll even notice, like, my username on this channel is two-end candle, i.e. a candle with two ends, because my parents used to give me a hard time for just burning the candle at both ends. And they'd say, you can't do everything. You can't, work these long hours and, go so crazy with school and then do these other things and pack everything in. And so my response, my whole life has been, yeah, I can. Burn the candle at both ends. I almost got a tattoo with that on it. But I'm realizing now it's probably not the best way to live your life, because you do need a break. And I've got this link up on the screen right now. There's something that I came across in my research called the Holmes-Rahe stress inventory. And this was news to me, but it's been around for ages. And really interesting research around the connection between stress and health. And they gathered enough of a sample together that they could run meaningful statistical analysis around people's general health outcomes and how that related to stress. And they developed a questionnaire with a series of points associated with each question. And you can take the test on that URL, and I'll include that link in the description of the video below. But really, really interesting. You go through these questions and you just respond. And it's things that, are stressors. So as an example, death of a spouse is on the list, and it has huge points, as you'd imagine. But holidays, entertaining, these sorts of things are on the list too, because even though they're positive, they're stressful. It's what's exciting to the nervous system, right? So if you go through all these questions and you score between 150 and 300 points, then according to the analysis that they did on their sample of all these people in the study, there is a 50% chance that you're going to have some sort of health breakdown in the next 2 years. Really interesting. If you score 300 points or more, there's an 80% chance of some health breakdown in the next 2 years. So fascinating stuff. And I'd never really spent much time thinking about this. So this anyway really got me aligned to the idea that stress is a factor and I've got to do something about that. So I really started looking at, how do I spend more time in my parasympathetic nervous system? How do I rest? How do I just relax? And so I started building things into my my routine to do that. And this has to be the single biggest factor in my recovery. And I see now, when I look back over the times where the hives came back after a period of prolonged remission, stress was always a factor. Might not have been the single biggest thing, but it was always implicated in what was going on at the time. It was just obvious. There's an obvious connection to the immune system, and you read about that everywhere. So I wanted to share a few resources. This book, it was a really interesting read anyway. It was just fun, but really interesting. It's a little hard to find, but you can get it used on Amazon if you look around. This book is full of case studies with patients of these two doctors that where there was some kind of connection between a skin health issue and the mind. And this was just amazing food for thought. Can't recommend this book enough. It was just really interesting to kind of make that case for the connection between the mind and the skin specifically. I mean, we all relate to this. If you're embarrassed, you'll blush. If you're scared walking down a dark alley, your skin will bristle. Like the connection is there, and we all know it. But this book is an interesting exploration of that, and it really got me paying attention to stress level and thinking about what I might do differently in my life. And I actually credit a lot of my recovery this cycle to the fact that I've been working from home during the pandemic. I've been able to start every morning with a walk. We're fortunate to have a beautiful place to walk next to our house here, and started doing that every day. And being at home too made it easier to take moments to kind of turn off for a second and just relax when work was when I was aware that my stress level was rising with work. And even just the extra time at home, your day is vastly expanded when you're at home. So I just had more time in my busy job to just be on top of things more, which reduced my stress level. So really interesting. And then I started exploring meditation as well, but not general mindfulness, although I'm sure that's a very healthy thing to do and certainly seemed to be in the research that I did. But I did a very targeted meditation, and it was all basically around turning off the hives. Now, what I learned was when you're meditating, things of a negative sentiment don't tend to be as effective as things of a positive sentiment. So for me, my meditation was all based on imagining I had clear skin, was kind of, I guess, at the heart of it. And I'll take you through what I did. I did this every morning. I found that I had to do this in the morning. My mind is a busy place, like anybody's mind. My head just moves a million miles an hour. So I found I had to do this first thing in the morning when my mind was fresh and sharp. Didn't work after work. And it was hard to create the time for it. It was nice when the house was quiet and I could just focus on it. I would start by doing 10 cycles of deep breathing to stimulate the vagus nerve, to get the parasympathetic nervous system kind of kicked in. So I would do that, and there's lots of techniques for this. You can look up box breathing or other techniques, but all I would do is basically just breathe in for a count of 5, get a real big, deep gut full of air, like breathing from the diaphragm, not the chest, and then let it out for a count of 7. And I just keep that cycle going for 10 minutes, just to kind of, 10 cycles, just to get zoned in. And then I would clear my mind. What you think of as classically meditating, just thinking of nothing. The hardest thing in the world to do, but you can learn it. And I would do that kind of as long as I would hang on to it, maybe 4 or 5 minutes or something like that. And then I'd start a body scan, and I would go from the bottom of my feet, my toes, and connect to that body part. When you start reading up on meditation, they'll talk about it as shifting your awareness to that body part. And when you get experienced with it, there's a physical sensation associated with it. It's quite cool. And I would basically shift my awareness to my feet, and then I would slowly let that crawl up my body to my shins, to my knees, to my thighs, my legs, my back, like just moving right up through the body in that body scan. And what I would do is focus on that part of the body and just kind of relax it, feel it, and then imagine it with no hives, like actually visualize that part of my body with totally clear skin, and just picturing that. And if my mind started to drift, I would just use a mantra. I just say my skin is clear, and I wouldn't keep repeating it because I always found that was kind of distracting. I would just use it as kind of like a centering technique. Say it a few times just to bring my focus back. So I do that body scan from toe to the top of my head, and then I would just sit and relax, maybe say the mantra a few times, and just picture myself standing there with totally clear skin, totally healthy, clear skin. And I would do that for 15 or 20 minutes. I would do it every day. And that was sort of my morning routine. I found meditating hard to learn how to do, and I read 5 different books on the subject, but I'll share this one. Meditation for Dummies was absolutely awesome. And that probably says something about me, but it was far and away, I found the most informative and practical book that I read. So can't recommend this one enough either. This is just a great book. Another thing that really was fun, and I think probably helpful if you're getting started in meditation, was the Muse brain sensing headband. This is kind of neat. It gives you biofeedback, so it basically plays an audio track that gets noisier as your mind gets noisier. So it's great for just helping you learn whether or not you're in the right zone. So I think that's probably the hardest thing about meditating is knowing if you're actually meditating. It's hard to describe. It's a very personal experience. So this thing, applies, it's essentially an EKG for your home, or an EEG for your home. So cool, right? Like you can see your brain waves, you can see the chart afterwards, and it'll help you hone in. So if you're just getting started, this is a fun way to learn how to meditate. They're a couple $100, so they're not cheap, but yeah, I thought it was fun. I don't use it all the time, but when I'm looking to dial back in, yeah, I would put it in the fun category. Another thing that I did, and this may seem a little bit out there, but I also did hypnotherapy. And this has been around for years. And it may sound a little airy-fairy, but it's, there's some real science to at least thinking, if you think of this as a meditation or a type of meditation, there's some real benefit there. What I liked about hypnotherapy is I only went, I went for a few sessions on and off over the years, but most recently I just did 2 sessions with somebody, and the hypnotherapist recorded those sessions. And I would imagine now most of these folks are doing this remotely as well. But recording the session that's like customized for you. So in my case, this was all around visualizing clear skin and working with the suggestion that my skin is clear. So having that session customized is pretty cool. What they do is they basically just get you into a really super relaxed state of mind, and then go through visualization exercises to kind of, the idea, at least anyway, is to embed the suggestion that your skin is healthy and clear. And having the recording is awesome because you can play it at any point with headphones on in a quiet room. And it's a meditation that you can do without a lot of effort. So for me, this was my end of the day routine because it was so relaxing and it was so easy to do. And it was very specifically targeted again at the hives. So I would do this after work, and I would do this immediately after work. So, I'd shut off my last Zoom meeting, check the rest of my messages, close everything off, and then I'd go tuck into bed, and I'd actually climb right into bed, turn off all the lights, put the earphones in, and just relax and listen to this 15, 20 minutes, and you kind of zone out. It's kind of like taking a nap. But man, it was super refreshing. It was a great buffer between work and evening life. And it was a great way to get another meditation into the day, because there's no way I could have focused on a meditation where I had to control my brain after 12 hours of Zoom meetings. Forget it. So this was like just the perfect thing. And it meant that every day I was getting 2 meditation sessions in every day. So that was really, really good. And I thought very effective for me. So I kept that routine up, the meditation twice a day, and just looking for opportunities to relax. So I stopped putting so much stuff into my weekends. I started just relaxing on the weekend. It took me a while to get into that. And yeah, I haven't got as much stuff done around the house, but man, what a difference to be healthy again. So that's what I did. So all of this stuff that I've covered in this video and the videos before really got me to a place where I could bring that reactivity level up, bring the histamine levels down. And now I live in this happy place between, you know, the bottom part of the chart and the top in that sweet remission zone. So here's basically everything that I've covered. These are all the things that I've done. These things are covered in depth in the videos that I've recorded. There's 4 videos in total in my channel, and there's one great big long video that just covers everything. If you feel like listening to me yammer on for a full hour, which I don't recommend. But yeah, this is how it broke down. Everything tied to reducing histamines, everything tied to improving reactivity. And really, the big thing I think that made the most difference was this idea of mind over matter. I think in my case anyway, going after stress, when you're in an idiopathic situation like that, where there's a chronic health issue and you don't know what it is, I think stress is always a great place to start. And there'll be things that work uniquely for you, I'm sure. But it's definitely, you know, from my experience, worth the research and worth the investment of time. So now I'm at a point where, you know, I don't have any hives. I know what I'm going to do if I ever see them pop up. I've had success getting into remission with these practices 3 times now, and for extended period, like for years. And I had the hardest time with it the last time around because I'd gone so long that I forgot most of this stuff. So you know, half of putting these videos together for me is just selfish because I want to have this to refer to the next time I forget, because I'm sure based on my state of health right now, it'll be a little while before I'm dealing with this again. And if I am dealing with it again, my guess is it's going to be because I got carried away with putting too much stuff onto my plate again and just getting all, you know, not stressed out. I was never aware I was stressed out, but just too much going on, living in a state of adrenaline all the time. As much as I enjoy living like that and it's fun, I've got to learn to chill out. So that's everything. Hopefully this was of value. Hopefully there was some little nugget in here that you take away and it helps you. If something does help you, I'd love it if you drop something into the comments. That would just make my day if I heard that that the investment of time in all this was worth it to help somebody. That's it. Hopefully, if you're struggling with this, as I've said, I think at the close of every video, my hope for you is that you can just find the determination and the perseverance to just keep pushing through and getting out of bed every morning and, you know, make it through this thing. Just keep going. You know, there's an answer out there somewhere. I promise you that this isn't going to last your whole life. You know, it's going to get better at some point. So please keep that hope. And here's to you, because if you've got this, you've already suffered a lot, and hopefully it doesn't last that much longer for you. So take care, all the best, and here's to good health.